Well, good morning. It's the English guy in Mexico. It's the 2nd of August 2016. Beautiful cool morning here, and I'm going to do an update of the first phase of getting the biomass in this mini permaculture setup that I've got going here. So the first part of this 6-7 minute video is going to be a very brief recap on where we've got to so far, and then where we plan to go from, because today is quite an exciting day for me. I've decided that the first level of gaining the biomass is actually working. So if you look at any of my mini-Hugelkultur videos, I've got mini-Hugelkultur 1, I think that was here, and you can see that after only, what, 3 months, we've got sorghum growing really well, really thickly, and I think this sorghum is now feeding on the logs. You can see the logs are buried in the middle there. I think it's feeding off the moisture and the way that these logs are breaking down. So there's another little mini one I did last week. It's just coming up now, the seeds, there's wood in the bottom of there. So in these trenches, Hugelkultur 1, 2, 3 and 4, there is a you can watch any of those videos on the internet I've uploaded. There's some pretty big logs in here. They're up and around 100 kilos per trench in terms of wood, and every one is working. Now what I will say is, if you come to this one, look how well this one is doing. It is almost 2 meters high on this back end. As I say, there's about 100 kilos of wood in the bottom of that one. I remember doing that, 2 very large logs. But look at this back end. And the reason is, that's where in the video, if you check it, I can try and show it to you, but it's a little bit overgrown. There's actually a urine pipe. What I've done, if I tread this down, I've got to be careful because there's snakes around occasionally this time. I've actually got a urine pipe going into the bottom. It's an old sewer pipe about 2 feet long, and every morning I put my urine in there, and I'll show the other place I put it. And if you look at this back end, look at the sorghum. Just on this one head of sorghum here, you're probably looking at the total amount of seeds that I put in that whole trench. So what I plan to do today, which is why I said it's quite exciting, the shade cloth, by the way, look at how green it is under this shade cloth. And I've already had the mower in here. I took the mower in about a week or so ago, well maybe 2 weeks ago, and actually, because I was getting worried about snakes, I started to notice as my vegetation is getting a bit higher. I've got some tomatoes coming up as well since the last video. What I do with my tomatoes, I just get a tomato, I go down to the shop, I buy a kilo of tomatoes, always get them local, try not to get those from Walmart, places like that, but go to a little local shop. I buy a kilo of tomatoes, which might be 8 or 10 tomatoes, and I always save 2 plump ones. I throw them in the blender and I just come out and scatter the seeds. I don't bother putting them in pots because I know that stuff like tomatoes and peppers come up fast, and all those are tomatoes just thrown into the tops of some old pots. Anyway, going back to the sorghum, look at the amount of seeds just on this one head. And again, if you go to the bottom of it, there's actually a wee area in the bottom. It's actually again buried, but it's right down in there, and that's where I put about half a gallon every night, well every morning after the night. I collect my urine at night, bring it out in the morning, and that's my 2 normal spots. And you'll notice the sorghum here is actually above my head. That is phenomenal. Semi-desert, and I've got about 2.5 meters of sorghum, which I am absolutely delighted about, because nothing really grows here. If you stand outside of the area, look at the soil. It's like a white, it's almost like chalk. I keep calling it calcium carbonate. When it's compacted, I think they call it caliche or caliche. But under this shade cloth, it is tremendous. So my next phase today is I'm going to start to hand strip some of this sorghum It's actually coming up in 4 different colours, I've noticed. I know that the green obviously is not quite ripe, so I'll leave that one, but the ripened ones, when I planted them, were like a dull red colour. Well, I appear to be getting a shiny red and black. I've got some hard green, but that must be ready, and I've got some dull red, so it's really confusing. Here's a dull red one. That is almost certainly ready, and yet it's a dull red, so I don't know. This was a hybrid. This was a cross between get my new puppy away from the hose. Out. A new Belgian Malinois, but it's biting the hose. Sorry, I got distracted there. Yeah, so today quite exciting because I'm going to start using this as my biomass. So I'm going to pick a couple of areas, hand strip maybe a kilo of seeds. I'll easily get a kilo of seeds off this just one row, and then I'm going to try and knock this over. If you cut it within 8 inches of the ground, it will regrow, and then I'm going to try and broadcast some seed and then put the residue that I've chopped back over the top, give it a quick water, and just see whether I can actually get some of this seed to come up in a different area. So I'm thinking probably here. For experimental purposes, I'm on the 2nd metal post of the shade cloth. It looks pretty barren under there. There's not really a lot growing, so I'll get the mower out, give it a really close mow, probably down to 1 inch there. Save all the cuttings in a plastic bin. Yeah, that looks a favourite spot there. And then I'm going to hand broadcast some of these seeds on top, sorghum, and see if I can replicate one of the or 2 of these trenches under here. So yeah, I'm quite excited. I've only got 50 seconds left, so my fruit trees are not doing particularly well. I've tried planting some bamboo, that's not really working either. Guavas, I planted that one a couple of days ago, and I've noticed I'm starting to get them deeper because it's hard to hold water on this soil. It just runs off. It's rock hard soil. So what I'm doing is actually making the holes just slightly bigger. But these have been here 2 years now, this row of fruit trees, and apart from some nice granadas, pomegranates, nothing really seems to want to grow, and I don't know what I'm doing wrong. But anyway, the good news is I'm starting to get some biomass, so the trick is going to be trying to get some biomass out onto this soil. So this is the English